I think they went on a 15-1 run inside the final 3 minutes. Just besides shot making, any controllables that you saw out there for your team?
Obviously we had some tough plays offensively. In those situations, you got to keep the scoreboard moving. I think we're up by 8 at one point there, pretty late, under 4 to go maybe. And I thought offensively, they pressured. We didn't make the plays we had to make. They were obviously doubling Shea. And so you got to kind of play in loose parts of the game. Had a couple critical plays there, but overall, we played really well tonight. Gave ourselves a chance to win. You got to credit them. They went and got the game. We didn't, but a lot of positive things and, a lot of marks of progress for us.
They went on several runs throughout the game and it seemed like you guys were able to respond. What does that say about your group that you were able to hang in there when they were kept throwing those punches?
Yeah, I thought we showed great poise throughout the course of the game. Really until that last stretch, and I wouldn't even say that was poise. It's just more, that was the only time we didn't fend them off. It felt like during the game when they were cutting into the lead, we had some answers and made some plays and then didn't have enough of them there down the stretch. But for the most part, I thought, our guys showed great resolve on the road, and it remained a very confident and tough-minded team. We just got to continue to learn these lessons. We're getting closer. We got to continue to learn these lessons and keep improving.
Darius had 7 turnovers tonight, a critical one late. What you kept going to him, seemed to trust him at the end of the game. What'd you make of his night?
Well, he was really good on George, especially in the first half, and really, through his run in the third quarter, he did a great job on Paul. And so it was a situational sub for defense. Kenrich was out there from, late in the third all the way down. He's not typically like a 14 straight minute guy. So we went back to him and, the turnovers are going to happen. The last one was tough. They pressured us. We probably got to break and get the ball to one of our handlers there and settle into a play. We can learn from that. That's partially on me too. But at the end of the day, I thought he really competed and gave good effort with Lou out on George and held him in check for much of the night. A lot of Paul's damage came really late there, but for the most part, the floor game on him and the game plan of him and Jackson both were pretty solid.
Paris mentioned the runs. There was a lot of times tonight where he sort of let the game go on even after that late 9-0 run. After Paul George hit the 2 threes, Kennard hit another one to tie it. You didn't call timeout. Is that just like one of your coaching styles, or how would you sort of explain that one?
In a game that close, you want to have, ideally you'd like to have your 2 timeouts. You only have 2 under 3 minutes, and all that came under 3 minutes. You'd like to have those 2 timeouts available to you to advance the ball, get yourself out of trouble. If you're protecting a lead, you want to be able to move the ball up into the front court to get the ball in bounds. If you're playing from behind, which you could be in a game that close, you want to be able to move it up like at the end there. If we get one stop, and it's a 1 possession game, we advance the ball with 4 seconds left. If you don't have that timeout available to you, it's tough. So it gets dicey down the stretch there, whether you want to stop runs or whether you want to manage the timeouts. Usually I err on managing the timeouts and having plays in, which we did, from previous timeouts to run, to milk late in the game there.
Mark, just back to Darius, a lot of the assignments that he's gotten at the 4 spot have been guys that don't move the way that Paul moves, especially off the ball, how low he can get. From an experience standpoint, playing as many minutes as Baisley did and playing a guy like PG, what do you think this will do for him moving forward?
I think these games, look, you taste your own blood in games like this, but we'd much rather this than not be, trying to protect a lead, against a playoff caliber team with 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. We want to put ourselves in those situations. We obviously would have liked to close it. But at the end of the day, it's progress that we're putting ourselves in that situation against a good team on the road. So the experiences of that, they sting, but that's how you learn. We'd like to learn through the win, but we don't have that choice right now. So we have to learn through this one, and we will, Darius and everybody else.
In addition to Darius, the defense seemed to really dig in its heels tonight, especially in that first half, held them to just 40 points. Just what did you think and what stood out to you about your group on that end of the floor?
I thought, they're a team that, they play matchups. And so it's really a high alertness game with personnel. You got to know what they're trying to do, what the strengths of their players are. They're similar to the Lakers in that way. They're going to try to exploit matchups. They're going to try to pump the ball to their best guys and make you deal with that. And so I thought our discipline in the first half and just understanding the game plan and personnel, and understanding of who's on the other team and what they want to do was really, really good. And it really was in the third too. I thought in the third quarter, we got off to a really good start, held them off. For most of the game, I thought we sustained that. Obviously, they got loose there at the end, but for 45 minutes, we played well enough to win, obviously.
No, it wasn't a huge sample, but you said you wanted to see Jeremiah and Favors on the floor together. What would you think about that pairing with Jeremiah at the floor?
Yeah, I thought the intention of that was to establish the level of physicality. We knew, with them being one and whatever, we knew they were going to come out and really want this game. And a lot of times when you're playing a team in that situation, they're going to try to throw haymakers early. And so from a physical standpoint, we wanted to establish a physicality in the game. And I thought we did that in both halves. We came out in the first half and second half and really kind of settled into the game. Those guys did a really good job. Jeremiah is obviously versatile. It's something we'll continue to look at among a lot of other things. But tonight with Lou out, it gave us kind of a prime opportunity to do that. And it fit kind of what we thought we needed coming in.
Anyone else in the room? All right, we're going to take to the Zoom for a couple questions. Go ahead, Christos Saltis. You have a question?
Yes. Hello, Coach. Hope you're doing well. Coach, for your team, for the young group of guys that the Thunder have, what kind of lesson were the last 2 minutes of the game and the way that you closed the game out tonight?
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of two different games in a close game. You have kind of the floor game and the flow of the game, which is usually the first 42 minutes if the game's close. And then there's the possession game, and it's different dynamic. The possession game's much more physical. It's much slower. It really forces teams to rely on execution. And obviously we didn't do that well enough tonight to win the game. And so that's the lesson. But, the thing I don't want to get lost, we really, with where we are as a team, we need to understand when we make progress, and our floor game tonight was really good. Our floor game was progress on both ends of the floor, and we can't lose that in the emotion of a loss. But certainly, yes, the last 3 or 4 minutes of the possession game, the tenor of the game shifts when you get to that point, and it requires different skills and it requires different type of focus. And they outplayed us in those moments tonight. So you credit them for the win, but I don't want to get lost in that. And overlook, pretty solid progress for us as we continue to build in the early part of the season here.
Next, we're going to Nick Crane with Forbes. Go ahead with your question, Nick.
Yeah, Teo got extended minutes, especially in the second half and down the stretch. What did you see out of him tonight?
He was good, especially defensively. They start putting 5 perimeter players out there, and you've got to have matchups. And, he's obviously done a nice job with his body, and he's a very reliable system defender and can handle a lot of perimeter matchups. He was on Jackson a lot tonight, especially in the first half, and did a nice job there. These players, they're young in their career. He played a lot of minutes last year. And one of the things that, everybody has to kind of adjust to this season is, being able to thrive regardless of the circumstances of your role. And obviously we've tried a lot of different things early. We're trying to give a lot of different people opportunities. We're trying to play the guys that are helping us in the game. And, he took, a couple lower minute nights recently, and I give him a lot of credit for being ready to rock tonight because, he didn't seem like a guy that was down confidence or anything like that. He went out there and really competed, and I thought he really helped us. He helped us build our leads, and, we have a lot of trust in him.
All right. Next, we're going to go to Myron Patton with Fox. Go ahead, Myron, with your question.
Poku had some nice moments in the first half. I'll be honest, on my drive home from the TV station here, second half had already started. Didn't seem to play as much the second half. Is that just some of the inconsistency, kind of a guy that's still learning? And then also late in the ball game, that possession by possession, are you talking about that's the difference between, say, in the flow of the game where you guys are fighting off those runs they're making as opposed to it's possession by possession, you're trying to win the game? Is that what you're talking about, the differences?
Yeah, so your first question, Poku was really good in the first half. That was probably the best sustained stretch of minutes he's played in a long time, maybe ever, just in terms of being really solid on both ends of the floor. He was really, really good there. When these guys are like playing a little less, I don't want it to be misinterpreted. Usually it's because we're choosing to go with somebody else that's playing well. It's less about an indictment on the guy that plays less. You can only play 5 guys at a time, and we usually go with the guys that we think can help us, move towards a win. And I thought that was the case in the second half, but he was really good in the first half. To your second question, yeah, I mean, I kind of call it the possession game. It's like when you come down in a close game like that, the game kind of grinds to a crawl. There's not a lot of fast break. There's not a lot of like pace. Defenses are really ratcheted up. There's a lot of intensity. There's a lot of physicality. And it just becomes kind of like a ping pong match. It's offense to defense, whereas the flow of the game just has much more natural rhythm to it. And that's just the nature of what the game's like at the end of a close game. And I was just making the comment that it's kind of different mindsets and different skills that you have to take to thrive in each of them. And I thought our floor game tonight, the first 44 minutes, we outplayed them and put ourselves in a position to win. And then in that possession part of the game where the game got a little bit amped up and a little more physical, they executed on both ends better than we did. We got to give them credit for that.
Do you wait until practice to kind of go over some of the mistakes guys make, or is that something you talk to them right after the game?
I usually don't give them much after the game. The game's so emotional, it takes time to come down. Usually you're a little more clear-headed, and they are as well, when you're given the information and when they're receiving it. So I usually try to give them like a message, usually of encouragement after a game like that, because we really played well and did a lot of good things. And then, yeah, we'll dig into the situations of the game and the lessons we can learn, just like we do every game.
Thanks.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. We'll bring players next.
All right. Thanks, guys.